Hey guys, welcome back to Clownfish TV. This is Neon. I am here with Geeky Sparkles.
Hello.
And shockingly, the star of She-Hulk is saying she doesn't think Disney's gonna make any more.
No, because they blew their budget and everything else.
What?
That's why. It was the budget.
I am so shocked. I am so surprised. Yeah, I don't think anybody's surprised by this. We're gonna talk about it, especially now because Disney is definitely trying to pare down on its expenses on Disney Plus. They're not gonna drop over $200 million for a Marvel rom-com that nobody watches. Let's talk about this. Before we get into it any further, please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants. Guys, you get woohoo if you do.
Woohoo!
So this is we'll go out to the AV Club version of it first, and then we're going to go out to Forbes. Forbes is fun. Tatiana Maslany, is that how you pronounce her name?
I think so.
Says, She-Hulk attorney at law has likely been thrown out of court. She said the Marvel series was too big and too expensive to go on. While it hasn't officially been canceled, the article says, they said the star isn't holding out much hope for return. In a recent appearance on a Twitch game show, codenamed Live via Polygon, Maslany was asked whether or not she saw a She-Hulk season 2 in the cards, and she said, I don't think so. I think we blew our budget, and Disney was like, no thanks.
Yeah, that's why.
No thanks. It's not as though She-Hulk's story was left in a place where a second season wouldn't be possible. The doors left open. The season finale, that was one where they broke the fourth wall and talked to the Kevin Feige bot or whatever. And yeah, Jessica Gao has ideas for second season. Yeah, I don't think it's going to happen.
No.
You know, they're going on to say, the AV Club, the reason for the show, this slow ghosting is more likely due to the larger problems facing Marvel right now, namely the fact that they've approached their massive TV output in a way that no one's ever tried to approach TV before. Basically, they spent way too much money. They got nothing in return for it.
Yeah.
They got rid of Victoria Alonso, who I think was behind a lot of the She-Hulk shenanigans.
And you remember too, Bob Iger just recently said that they're going to cut down on the amount of spending because they're going to have to do fewer shows and with lower budgets.
Yeah. Oh, this is interesting. This is coming from the AV Club, right? According to a different report from Variety, the budget for a few single episodes of She-Hulk occasionally grew to a whopping $25 million.
Yeah, and allegedly it was like over $200 million for the whole show.
More than the final season of Game of Thrones.
Because of all the heavy CGI on the characters.
But without even half of the cultural impact.
Right, because no one gave a shit.
No.
You're going to see Paul Tassi being really salty here in a minute at Forbes.
Yeah, which surprises, I mean, it actually does surprise me, but...
The issue is nobody cares. That's the problem they keep having. It's like, you think that you're doing these shows for people and you're like always going on about how, oh, it's because of, toxic men and blah, 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 blah. Women don't care either. And when you're doing a comic book movie, the audience is predominantly male. I'm sorry you don't want to hear that. That is the truth. It's like rom-coms. The audience is predominantly female. Do men watch it? Yes. But is it mostly women? Yes. Same thing. And I'm tired of hearing that's sexist. That's not sexist. That's facts. That's just facts. I mean, you have a show that's kind of crapping on men. It's probably not going to do well.
Yeah, so it really didn't, for the amount of money they spent, right? They didn't get a whole lot of viewership. They didn't get a lot of bang for their buck. I'm looking at now it's hard to find the exact numbers, but you'd have to go episode by episode. But like this week, August 19th of 2022, they actually got beat by Lock and Key on Netflix. And that was kind of a dud. Sandman, which again was another expensive show. I actually liked Sandman. I actually thought they did a pretty decent job with it, but it's not going to get a second season because it costs too damn much. And it still did better than She-Hulk. So like, you can try to blame the bigots and the misogynists. Most people who watch these shows, they don't pay attention to the pop culture war or any of that stuff.
Well,
they don't
aware
care
of it half the time.
They're not even aware. They are blissfully ignorant. They basically look at something, a piece of media, and they go, does this interest me? Yes or no. Was the last one any good? Yes or no. And that's basically it. Like in the case of Star Wars, it wasn't, the man babies that destroyed Star Wars. It was people went to The Last Jedi, they didn't like it, and they didn't come back.
Yeah, basically.
That's what happened.
And the ones that did like it, the ones that they were falling over you, like journalists and stuff, were mad when you walked back to Rise of Skywalker, so you made nobody happy.
most people are not terminally online. They dip in, they watch their entertainment, they come home from work, they go work their regular job.
They're probably much happier for it.
They probably are. And they come home and they flip through streaming or, linear TV or whatever, and they look for something to watch. And if they don't enjoy it or they think it's stupid, they're not going to watch it. Especially, Marvel, a brand that has historically been targeted to males. Right. And in the case of Disney, they were selling a lot of action figures to young males, a lot of boys buying, Captain America and Iron Man action figures and all that. If you go to Timmy and say, hey, Timmy, do you want to see a girl version of the Hulk? Hell no. Mm-mm. I'm going to watch something else, And
they're like, oh, it wasn't like woke. And I hate using that term. I don't like using that term. I really, really, truly don't. People keep saying we say it all the time. Like, well, hell, we do.
No, we don't. We do not.
But it kind of was in some places. I mean, it was very, girl power oriented. And they did make sure they took some characters and kind of made them, less than to make her a little more than, which they keep doing, off and on. And they deliberately went out of their way to find, make caricatures of people they thought was the haters in the audience. Like there was a Doomcock knockoff and some other stuff.
Yeah, that was weird. That was weird.
It was clearly they were salty little bitches and they're mad about it. But again, it's a predominantly male audience for these shows, and you didn't click with your audience.
The fact that they went there with the Doomcock knockoff, right? The fact that they went there, and I'm not trying to knock Mr. Cock. Okay, just don't take this.
You just wanted to say Mr. Cock.
Yeah, I'm not trying to knock Mr. Cock, but in the grand scheme of things, he's not exactly a Mr. Beast. He's not exactly a PewDiePie. He's not exactly a household name.
Yeah, it's not meant to be an insult, but yeah.
Channels like ours, most of them are under 1 million subs, which by YouTube...
We're not a household name either.
We're not a household name. By YouTube standards, that's very, very small. So the fact that they felt like they had to call these relatively small by YouTube standard channels out, in that way means that these people have gotten underneath their skin, and they're definitely top of mind, and they're living in their heads rent free. You know what I'm saying? Because normally it wouldn't be that big of a deal, because the general public's not going to understand any of that. They're not going to understand. Like, who's the guy in the mask? That's stupid. Oh, it's some YouTuber with a couple 100,000 subs, and they'll be like, who?
Mm-hmm. Why do you care? Yeah.
Why do you care? Why you're Disney? You're Disney. Why do you care what the YouTubers with under 1 million subs think? But they do, obviously. It bothers them a lot. So that's the narrative. The narrative was our show failed because these damn YouTubers, and same with Star Wars. Oh, Star Wars is failing because these damn YouTubers, and He-Man's failing because of those damn YouTubers. Mm-hmm. No, the general public doesn't give a shit. They don't care what we think. I'm going to be honest. They really don't. In the grand scheme of things, they don't. There's a lot more people that don't watch us than watch us. It's not like we're going on CNN primetime and being like, don't watch this show. Nobody
You should pick something that people actually care about. CNN isn't one of them.
No, okay. So, yeah, not a good analogy. But you know what I'm saying? Like, it's not exactly like channels like ours are household names, and we are single-handedly destroying all these franchises. Like, no, the franchises were already burning down. You did a good job doing that yourself.
Back to the point, because of all the CGI heavy, episodes, because they had to animate her, and then sometimes other characters, they had to have animation done for them, that it was too expensive. We're talking like the show was going to the budget of one of their movies. Now, to be fair, though, these movies are getting these $200 million budgets and failing at the box office. Well, they're failing on the streaming service too.
Yeah.
They're not getting the views, and I don't think they attracted many subscribers.
No, and that's what they were banking on. Disney spent a lot of money up front on Star Wars and Marvel content, thinking they were going to get a ridiculous amount of subs, thinking they were going to dethrone Netflix, and thinking they were going to play the long game and be like, okay, well, if we lure people in, and they would just go from like one series to another. It's like, okay, well, now we have the new Star Wars series. We'll trickle that out episode week after week, and then we'll trickle out a new Marvel show. And as long as we just, dangle that carrot along, drag this out, we're going to, maintain subscribers. The problem is a lot of this stuff is dog shit, and people don't want to watch it. And it doesn't matter how much money you spend on it. People aren't watching it. They're not watching it. But this article from Forbes, again, this is Paul Tassi, who usually I agree with, but I thought this was kind of a weird thing. You sent this over to me.
He gets so ass mad.
He's so angry about, which it kind of blows my mind because it's such a weird thing. He said that She-Hulk was the target of relentless bile from self-proclaimed Marvel fanboys who decried its forthright feminist messaging and woke comedy. While they will no doubt celebrate its demise, the obvious problem with She-Hulk wasn't that it was woke. It's that was a 9-episode series that reportedly cost $200 million.
Right. But that wouldn't be an issue if people actually watched it, but they didn't. And here's the problem with this mentality. It's like a double standard. Somehow you are blaming the entirety of its failure on the fact that these fanboy men hate it. It's like, on one hand, you're not supposed to watch it because you're toxic, but on the other hand, they're blaming you for its failure because you didn't watch it, or you did watch it because you're toxic or whatever. You can't be both ways. The reason it didn't do well is because the majority of people, whether they are quote unquote self-proclaimed Marvel fanboys or just normal people, they didn't watch it. And the thing about She-Hulk is there's a lot of fans of the comic for She-Hulk. It should have done really, really, really well.
Yes.
But it didn't. And one of the reasons it didn't was because, I mean, you have her on there twerking, and all that. Why? I mean, I was watching it and I was like, it wasn't as bad as some of the people were making out to be, I think, as a woman watching it. But I can see some of the points they were making at the same time. From
what little I saw of it, and I had less than zero interest in it, but from what little I saw of it, I kept thinking this is Ally McBeal with a green woman. A giant green woman. That's what this is.
It wasn't good. A lot of the places, the animation, I mean, they did the best they could, but
sometimes the singing, dancing baby looked better than She-Hulk did.
I didn't go that far, but it was weird in places. And I mean, this is why the VFX workers wanted to form a union, wanted to be unionized, and I agree with them in this situation because they were being overworked and the stuff was coming out crap. We have the Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania stuff and how bad that was. The She-Hulk stuff, it was pretty bad. Probably done similar times. They were overworked and there wasn't enough people and they wouldn't hire more. A lot of people won't work with Disney because they didn't pay them or they, were being weird. We talked about that many times before.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, look, there are many reasons. However, at the end of the day, you can't say that quote unquote wokeness didn't turn some people off.
Wasn't the director on this, that gal, wasn't she the one making comments that she basically would bully Kevin Feige to get what she wanted?
Yeah, she was, and he was not happy with the Kevin bot at the end of the series, as I understand it. But she basically bullied him into doing it.
She was like making jokes about it.
And I have to wonder, is She-Hulk the reason that Victoria Alonso got gone? Was that the straw that broke the camel's back?
I don't know. They're trying to say it was Kevin's fault, not Victoria's fault. But the VFX workers have been saying that. Some of them had said that Victoria Alonso was terrible. So
yeah,
I don't know.
But he's going through, and he's actually right in this case. They're doing the street level Daredevil, but they had to refilm the whole thing.
Mm-hmm. They're filming a lot of it. Yeah.
Echo is cheap, but I don't know how many people were actually watching it.
It's $40 million, but it's for 5 episodes.
Yeah, I mean, this was. I think it was a really dumb idea. I mean, if you're trying to be budget conscious, it's a dumb idea to pick a character that has to be rendered almost entirely in CGI. Mm-hmm. Now, they could go 70s with it and be like, yeah, let's just get a really buff woman to come in, throw some green face paint on her. But that would look bad, but the CGI doesn't look good either. Some things just don't translate from the comics. You're not going to be able to do it. And yeah, they pulled it off with Infinity War with Thanos, but that was like a $500 million movie, the budget on that thing. I mean, that was insane. And they don't have that for the TV shows. And I don't know. I think we're going to get a lot of like really small Marvel shows. We're going to have like, young Aunt May adventures or something.
Oh my God, that'd be funny.
Like, stuff like that. I think we're going to get
Aunt May adventure.
We're going to get, they were talking about doing damage control, which is basically that's the cleanup crew when the Marvel heroes wreck the city, they come in. Something like that they could do on the cheap, but.
Didn't they do a TV show of that?
Did they?
They did a TV show of something. Okay, so it was the DC version, but I remember they had the show. It was Powerless.
Yeah, they had Powerless, but they were actually going to do, I guess they were going to do a damage control show for ABC, and then they pulled the plug on that. But I could see Disney going back to something like that because it's like, oh yeah, we don't have to actually show the superheroes doing anything. We could just show a bunch of guys standing around the water cooler talking about all the superhero stuff. That's riveting, But the thing is they promised the audience They promised people a lot of things. But when they started Disney Plus, they're like, okay, not only are you going to have the archive of like every Disney thing ever made, but we're going to spend as much money on these shows as we do on the movies, and they're going to be as good as the Marvel movies. And they are not.
Yeah, for $200 million that they spend on,
$200 million.
what they spend on like just like one, in one film. It's just.
Yeah, it's stupid. They're just burning money. And we have another video coming up. We'll talk about Disney and money, but at some point somebody has to stop them. Like somebody has to like pull them aside and be like, you cannot just keep lighting money on fire.
Well, Iger said that's what they're doing. He said that because of all stuff that's going on, and now they have these board nominations they put out. That's basically that these are who we say you should vote for our board, and don't vote for the people that are trying to do proxy battles. Just vote for our people. He said that they were going to cut spending on shows and like both how many shows they had and like per episode cost.
They have to. It's ridiculous. I've never seen an entertainment company burn as much money as Disney's. They've just been shoveling it into the freaking furnace. So anyway, are we going to wrap this one up?
Yeah.
Please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants, guys. We'll talk later.
Bye.